Howdy y'all, it's Reese, aka Bearman Prime, on this September 25th. Welcome back to my Read the Bible in a Year series, and thank you again for joining me. God bless you all. Start at the top right hand corner for the rest of the playlist. Please hit the like button, subscribe button, and notification bell. I sure do appreciate it. Alright, so Jesus is still being interrogated by the powers that be in Israel at this time. He's been before Pilate, Roman governor, who, to his credit, tells the Jewish leaders who are accusing him, I find no fault with him. I can find nothing wrong. But that doesn't stop the Jewish leaders from shouting him down, kill him, kill him, kill him. So Jesus' fate is still in Pilate's hands right now. So let's see what he decides to do with that. Let's go to Mark today, Mark 15, and start in verse 6. Every year at the Passover time, the governor would free one prisoner, whichever one the people wanted. There was a man in prison at that time named Barabbas. He and the rebels with him had been put in prison for committing murder during a riot. The people came to Pilate and asked him to free a prisoner, as he always did. Pilate asked them, "Do you want me to free the king of the Jews?" Pilate knew that the leading priests had handed Jesus over to him because they were jealous of him. But the leading priests persuaded the people to ask Pilate to free Barabbas, not Jesus. Pilate asked the people again, "So what should I do with this man you call King of the Jews?" The people shouted, "Kill him on a cross!" Pilate asked, "Why? What wrong has he done?" But the people shouted louder and louder, "Kill him on a cross!" Pilate wanted to please the people, so he set Barabbas free for them, and he told the soldiers to beat Jesus with whips. Then he handed him over to the soldiers to be killed on a cross. Pilate's soldiers took Jesus into the governor's palace, called the Praetorium. They called all the other soldiers together. They put a purple robe on Jesus, made a crown from thorny branches, and put it on his head. Then they began shouting, "Welcome, King of the Jews!" They kept on beating his head with a stick and spitting on him. Then they bowed down on their knees and pretended to honor him as a king. After they finished making fun of him, they took off the purple robe and put his own clothes on him again. Then they led him out of the palace to be killed on a cross. Verse 21. There was a man from Cyrene named Simon walking into the city from the fields. He was the father of Alexander and Rufus. The soldiers forced him to carry Jesus' cross. They led Jesus to the place called Golgotha. Golgotha means the place of the skull. There they gave him some wine mixed with myrrh, but he refused to drink it. Soldiers nailed Jesus to a cross. Then they divided his clothes among themselves, throwing dice to see who would get what. Okay, so let's start at the beginning here. So remember, this is the Passover time. This is their big holiday. Their one big holiday of the year, right? And it's been tradition for the Roman governor, whoever's in charge at the time, to free one of the prisoners that he's been holding. Now, he's probably got quite a few prisoners because remember, the Jews are not happy that Rome is controlling their nation, right? They're being subjugated by the Roman Empire. So there's probably more than a few dissenters among them, right? And one in particular is this man, Barabbas, who him and a bunch of other people during a riot killed people. It's who doesn't say who, could have been Jews, could have been Roman citizen. I would have to imagine if it was a Roman citizen that he would have been put to death immediately, but whatever. But anyway, they're convicted murderers. This man is a convicted murderer, right? So Pilate comes before the multitude of Jews. These are all people that the leaders have convinced that Jesus is the bad guy, right? Not his followers, but the ones, mainly the nation at large at this time, the ones that haven't followed or believed, okay? And so he comes before them and says, "It's time for me to free a prisoner for you. Should I free this man you call the King of the Jews?" And again, to Pilate's credit, he knows that the Jewish leaders are full of lies. They're full of crap, right? He thinks it's jealousy, which it kind of is, right? They're jealous of Jesus. They're jealous of how much fame and notoriety he's garnered, how many followers he's taken, but they also don't like how he's calling them out, called them hypocrites and liars and yada yada yada, right? So, but he gives them the choice. Would you like me to free Jesus? And they said, no, give us Barabbas. Give us the convicted murderer versus the man who has literally done nothing, right? And so he does. And then Pilate asks, what should I do with him, this man you call king of the Jews? And they shout, kill him on a cross. And again, Pilate says, what has he done wrong? You haven't told me. I don't see it. What has he done wrong? But they don't say it. They just say, kill him on a cross. And they're just, they're being insistent. Kill him on a cross. Kill him on a cross. Kill him on a cross. Kind of like that. Just a big mob. And this is where Pilate loses any sort of leeway, right? Because, like I said, to his credit, he recognized that Jesus had done no wrong, that there was nothing wrong with what Jesus said or done. But then he allows himself to be swayed by the crowd. Rather than doing what he probably knew was the right thing to do in letting Jesus go, because he was innocent, he gave into the crowd's demands. He gave into the mob's demands and said, kill him. My hands are clean. And he left it at that. He could have done the right thing. He should have, but he didn't. And again, it's all part of the plan. God knows what's going to happen, and he's using everything that is happening here for his purposes. Everything from Pilate giving in to the mob and handing him over to be crucified, from the punishment that Jesus is taking, all the beatings and the ridicule. He's got blood literally dripping from his face like sweat because of the thorny crown. He's being mocked and kicked and beaten and whipped, all this stuff. And then he's brought out to Golgotha, the place of the skull, which, fun fact, when you actually look at the place, it does look like a skull. It's got like two eyes and the little nose here, so it looks like a skull. That's why they called it that. And they nailed him to the cross, right? Now, not to get too graphic here, but crucifixion was a very brutal and painful method of execution, okay? Because you have to remember, they are literally nailing someone to a piece of wood, right? The nails would either go through their hands or through their wrists here, like that. There's a major artery, okay? And through their feet or their ankles, okay? Then they're put in the ground straight up. And so imagine you've got nails in you and you're hanging and gravity starts pulling you down, right? And not only is, the pressure of the nails pulling at those wounds, but also your joints are starting to give out, right? That is just a painful, painful way to go. And you're exposed to the elements. So you likely would have died of thirst or hunger or exposure while you're there. It was just one of the most awful ways to kill someone. But he took it. He took all the suffering and all the pain for you. Think about that. That's all for today. We'll pick it up there tomorrow. Thanks again for joining me. I sure do appreciate it. I'll see y'all tomorrow.